Hibernate. Old wounds fester in suspicion and anger. Infinite seasons. Finite lifespan. And it has returned home. Crack. A thick layer of gravel has formed on the streets. Most of the south side has been spared the effects of the catastrophe. But at the peak of the storm, there was nowhere in Human where the sun could be seen. Crack. The lock is broken. The furnace has been toppled, racks scattered everywhere. The yard is littered with broken bricks and tiles. The master of the house will never return to clean this up. Yet the tree still stands. Grandmaster, thank you for coming here to the Sword Forge. The sword has been found, but she insists on returning it to you personally. I need to talk to you. Go ahead. It's been more than a decade since I last sat here. It's like coming home, even though we're in the same city. About Mr. Meng, there's no need to say anything. He knew it was wrong to put the whole city in danger. I reckon he had planned to atone for it from the beginning. Still, my ill-considered actions have alienated the Jianghu heroes of Human. I will speak to my father and accept any discipline once this crisis has passed. And I will indemnify any losses suffered by the Sword Forge, as well as the costs of any repairs. Lord Exorcist is fair and just. He will give them a proper answer. However, the events that transpired were sudden, and some misunderstanding is understandable. As for whether you lost your calm and stepped out of bounds, I will let you be your own judge. I did what had to be done. My conscience is clear. I'm sure you understand that the Shanghai Zong are even more dangerous to Yan than the Faranmuts. The Faranmuts may be powerful, but we won the hunt 1,000 years ago. Yan is even stronger now. There is nothing to fear. True. Times have changed. What is truly frightening is the shadow that had been cast on people's hearts since time primordial. Heaven and earth, moon and stars, wind and rain, the changing of the seasons. It is unfathomable, beyond our reckoning. The Faramutts were the same to the people of the time. Ignorance breeds fear, and which becomes into religion. To those madmen, we are the ones who are the outsiders. We are the traitors. Religion is simply another kind of obsession. The Shanghai Zong's activities never waned, even after the Faramutts faded from the public eye. In the past centuries, they have absorbed bandits, pirates, robbers, and other sorts of villains. They use the Faramutts as a shadow to conceal their activities. Sui regulator records indicate that the Shanghai Zong have done unmeasurable harm in the name of the Faramutts. The scale of their deeds is so widespread that complete elimination is impossible, and the vileness of their acts horrifying. They have started to reach out to the proxies of your kin. They were thankfully foiled by the timely intervention of the Sui regulator. I doubt my siblings want anything to do with such disciples. However, the Sui's true form stirs from slumber. Human returns to its motherland, and the Shanghai Zong have infiltrated the city. It is a complex web, too complex to be a coincidence. Do you mean all under heaven is the offender's go board? The Shanghai Zong may simply be a piece in his game. That's a serious accusation. Is it the Sui regulator's official stance? Or perhaps the Shanhai Zong have already made contact with the Sui. Therefore, the Sui regulator sees this as the greatest threat that Yan has faced in its history. Yes. Tracking the sword, dealing with the criminals, hunting the Shanhai Zong. You are the youngest candle holder of the Sui regulator, and son of the Lord Exorcist of Human. In this matter, your burden has no equal. Yes. In a world of chaos, decisions of life and death must be swift and forceful as thunder. Err on the side of going too far. Better to be too harsh than too lenient. That is what you think? Yes. There is a young Zhuo Zhan Liao in you. However, you seem to have forgotten Zhuo Zhan Liao's last instructions when he ordered you to do 3 things in 3 days. Keep the secret and do not disturb the people. What was the ultimate goal of the Imperial Court when the Sui regulator was established to deal with the Fairmont matters? Why has Human returned to the motherland? Its survival at stake. It's for the people in this city right now. The people whom you brought back to the camp. For all the people. Never forget what all you do is for. Maybe you were right in this instance. But a position of authority and holding the power to make decisions also means holding the power to kill or harm. Some mistakes can never be undone. Though it shouldn't have been me tell you all this. Thank you for your guidance, Grandmaster. The catastrophe rages on. Go and help. Boss, everybody get in here. This out of the way alley is a blind spot in the patrol battalion search routes. We're safe here for now. Finally, a breather. Is this all the men we have left? We lost the rest on the street. The Human soldiers moved much faster than expected, setting up watch around catastrophe defenses and key roads in a short time. And those guards and brawlers who appeared out of nowhere. Oh, they were tough. What about the die beast we sent out? None returned. The other groups are probably no better off if they were captured alive. A rabble of greedy crooks who were recruited do not leave a trail to begin with. They won't give anything important. We've done what we came for. Let's go while we still have the catastrophe, before Human can cut off our escape. By the way, where's the master? Where is she at this crucial time? She's... You. I took your sword. Now I'm giving it back. Since you've returned it, I'll say you borrowed it. I want to ask you a few questions. I'll only give it back after you've answered. I know you're much stronger than I am, but don't try to take it by force. Very well. Ask. Why don't you look anxious at all? Don't you care about the sword? A worldly possession. One that cannot be easily discarded. I wouldn't say I don't care. Either you care about it or not. Shifu was right. The way you beat around the bush can be annoying. The one who said that. It's the sword called Chongye. Sure. Chongye is my name. Shifu often talked about this sword. But maybe it's not just the sword that she wanted to see. For the last couple of days, I've been thinking, is this Shifu's home? Shifu taught us how to fight, taught us knowledge from the nomadic cities, how to build sturdier houses to stand against the sandstorms, and how to listen to the pulse of the land in order to plant crops and dig for water, even in the barrens. The nomadic city that Shifu talked about was tall and strong. I saw how the people turned back even all-consuming catastrophe when they stood together with each other. Everyone should have a place to call home. If home lets us rest without fear of disaster or having to chase the seasons, then why did Shifu leave 20 years ago? The man does not answer. She was very ill, but she taught you Kung Fu. We Anasa are gifted with strong bodies. Shifu said that when one has a home, one must learn to protect it. We learned quickly, so that Shifu would not have to demonstrate over and over again with her sickly body. My people thought about taking her away from the barrens to get treatment. Shifu always answered, but how draining would the journey be? I would rather see how the Lie Dao Zi I taught you to brew is coming along. Did you ever find a doctor? The man shakes his head. Not in the places I looked. I was going to look elsewhere when I received an urgent message from Yumen. The Shanghai Zone were wreaking havoc in Yumen. They asked me to return as soon as possible. So Shifu's illness could not have been treated, even if she never left. Yes. Shifu said the cycle of life and death is something everyone goes through. A little longer or shorter doesn't change anything. What really separates us is the age between life and death. And even more cruel, illness. What can be seen but cannot be helped merely makes one troubled. The first batch of Lie Dao Zi was finished just before Shifu passed away. She drank it with us and heard us sing a song with no name. It was an old song that the Anasas sang for a dead kin to put their souls to rest. Shifu asked what point there is in singing a song for her if she can't hear it. Let me hear it while I still can. Good. She didn't die alone. I was eating at the inn yesterday and saw that people were preparing to see you off. Did you? Are you leaving? It's been more than 100 years. It's time to go. You've been here so long. Isn't this your home? Many people's homes are somewhere else in Yan, but stay here to protect the city. But where it's going, I can't go with it. Would you have gone to look for Shifu if she was still alive? The spring comes and goes, leaving the autumn heart despondent. Such is mortality. You are like the Anasa. Anasa, those without roots. In ancient Sarkos? Maybe. The words in intonation are indistinguishable from a native. The Anasa girl knows, however, that he is not one of her kind. He has simply gone to many places and met many people. Forget it. Here's your sword. I have nothing more to ask. The man never answered any of the questions. He neither answered nor dodged them. The Anasa suddenly understands how her Shifu must have felt when she left. I'm going home. The Anasa girl falls to the ground. She has passed out from sheer exhaustion. Her injuries. She pulled the sword. The ancient sword leaves its sheath. It looks no different save for the vestige of an old friend. Almost gone now. The medium is the jade on her forehead. She used to wear it, saying that it calmed her mind and warded off evil. I see. A move decades in the making. But a poor one, if the sword was the only goal. One in the city? He had his eye on one corner of the board, ignoring the other. Huh. So this is what it is. This is how you have fallen. How amusing. I want to see how you swallow it. The shame. See? First, the Lord Exorcist tent, that essential room of humans' inner city. Have you never been taught that it's rude to come uninvited? You got your sword back just now. Looks like he has discovered your secret. So you have met my brother. You separate that part that belonged to it and sealed it away, while he wants to take its place. The attitude with which the two of you treat it, what you are doing, is bold and interesting, but ultimately foolish and pointless. Perhaps no more than what you're doing right now. You're not here for the catastrophe, for the city, or what I hold in my hands right now. You made all this mess just to ask for directions. You wanted to know where the Sui is. How dare you compare those things to it? You are slow on the uptake. It slipped my mind as to who would be so interested in it, other than the Imperial Court and my siblings. You have forgotten what you used to be. Only a Fahrenheit would seek out another. Long time no see. An utterance with a million connotations behind it. Poignant lament, cold sarcasm, or seething anger. 1,000 emotions exploded at once, then dissipated. They dig wounds in the depth of the memories immemorial. In time beyond reckoning, it and it, they, engaged in dialogue, form afar as such. I came back to this land to settle our debts. But what right does a fragment sealed in a trinket have to engage in dialogue with me? I want to see you as who you truly are. There's something I'm curious about. You fled after the hunt, not to be heard after all these years. Why have you chosen to return at Yan at this time? It was my brother who awakened you. As for the Shanghai Zone that appeared with you, they just made some company on the way. I encountered them in the desert. I shared the forming catastrophe that I saw and made a little show of power. They were surprised that someone could know the Fahrenheit so well. They were convinced that I was a herald of the Fahrenheit. Some are pretentious, some sincere, but all strive to prove their faith to me, worshipping bits and pieces that they can claim to have come from the Fahrenheits. They curse their own kind and imagine overthrowing all order. They look down on mankind, utter meaningless words, and implore me to communicate their faith. Little do they know that the object of their faith itself stands before them. If your encounter with the Shanghai Zone was by chance, and you had intended to sneak into the central room all along, in order to lock on to the Sui's location through humans' navigational coordinates, Why are the Shanghai Zong here? To destroy human? Not very likely. Until they met you, they didn't know there would be a timely catastrophe in human's path. I'm not interested in mankind's petty machinations. I just needed some hands to cause chaos. In human terms, you manipulated your followers. And to become infected with hysteria and start thinking about one's own existence, even denying it. Only slightly more amusing than those who remain foolish from their first moments to their last. That is to say, not very amusing. What would they think if they knew their God thought so little of them? Since when have we needed the faith of such puny beings? Except for fools like the sea. Leaving so soon? I spared some time for you only because you're its fragment. I've already wasted too much time. I should have realized the other day when we fought. The scent of flowers and the sight of spring were too real to be achieved by original arts. Sui regulator records speak of a beast by the name of Ya, who cuts away the seasons and holds them at its bosom. You have its memory, yet you dare call me in the human way. Ya? What a disciple name. What a disciple? Despicable? I feel like it's supposed to be despicable. Just like Sui cuts away at the seasons. Humans measure time in such silly ways. It is no illusion. An illusion cannot be so real. It ceases to exist in some other fleeting time. It exists in this never-ending present. Time has stopped. 8,000 years of spring, 8,000 years of autumn. A maze that has no ending. Time has not stopped. A lone boat on a river, each one standing on one end. A ripple spreads from the end of the boat. You're trying to make me stay? Yes. You demonstrate incredible mastery of space. But I must make you stay. Even if I can't. I would have left Human by now if things had gone according to plan. For you, neither catastrophe nor human can compare in importance to the sea. For me, however, there is nothing that I could care less about than the sea. For you, all that is happening outside is a fleeting cloud. For me, it is the damaged walls, broken houses, suffering soldiers and civilians, and one old friend who died with regret. The catastrophe has not passed. They do not know that you even exist. Someone must take a stand for human. I guess there's no one but me to do it. The second long journey through the vast void. Awakening at the end of the journey. Regret. Shame. Anger. Disorientation. But even more so, confusion. You want me to stay? Then answer my question for it. I came so far to find you. Did you know that those ants have dug through mountains and filled in rivers, calling the scars they leave upon the land cities? Is this frail and sick land still a cosmos that we had once lived and frolicked in? Did you know that the marks they left before they died remain on this despicable city they call human? The ants have not repaired it for thousands of years, calling it part of the glorious journey towards civilization. This is the city that your fragment has sworn to protect. It is it. I am I. Heaven's repressed anger. What does that even mean? The boat continues to sail. The plants on the banks growing shorter, pressed down by the snow. Do you remember how our consciousness journeyed the sleepless void and became the first living beings here? Do you remember how we watched the sun rise and set, giving order to time and objects, and heaven and earth took shape? Do you remember that eye which broke the heavens? We watched and clashed in the cosmos. The rivers turned red. The mountains leveled. The bodies piled up until they reached the clouds, becoming new mountains when they rotted away. Such a magnificent thing a true war is. The boat continues to sail upon a river without end. The snow grows thick. Each question echoes like an avalanche. It is wide up above and down below. The skies are so low that one only has to reach out to touch them. Why would one who has seen such an era care about the ants between its claws and the dust they stir up? To deceive humanity, you meddled with cloud and rain, sent preposterous blessings from the heavens, helped the so-called true lung triumph. How utterly meaningless. Why do you answer them again after 1,000 years? Harass, provoke, hunt, and kill your own kind. Compared to their ancestors, puny but brave, these ants are feeble, despicable, filthy. Why do you want to rule over them? Why do you want to become their god? Since time immemorial, has our kind ever seen the shame that you have put yourself to? Answer me, my kin. You're angry. In all these millennia of slumber, it has ever been like you are now, swallowing the shame, chewing upon betrayal, seeking answers. That is why fragments like us were born. But we are not it. I cannot answer your question. I cannot understand your fury, just as you cannot understand mine. Fury? You will stand for humanity. Here, draw the sword, and maybe you can. I'm thinking how much you treasure this dimension. Born in spring, prosper in summer, wilt in autumn, fade away in winter. Cut away the seasons and hold it at one's bosom. I could imagine how you hurriedly cut away this little pocket and took it with you when you fled to Yan 1,000 years ago. How you hid in a remote corner of the world, flipping through the pages again and again, licking your wounds before a snippet that would never fade. Since when have the Fairmonts become so sentimental? How is it different from those feeble, despicable, and filthy humans you speak of? 8,000 years of spring, 8,000 years of autumn. The snow never stops falling. This little corner will ever be itself. This is how you measure time. How silly. Days, months, years. Winter turns to spring, then to winter again. Time can be divided, no matter how long. One mind, one will, one move, from equinox to solstice, to the next equinox. Humanity has always been so, breaking down life into tiny constituents and perceiving everything within those constituents. Did he just shatter the dimension? The boat stops. A firm fist connects with Ya's chest. There is no extraneous motion, only the utmost simplicity. The ice and snow melt into a single point on the river. Ya falls from the boat and hits the cold, hard ground. This is what you learned after you forsook its power. You are not it. The man does not speak. He watches the human before him in its last throes. All the living things of the world do not look so different on the brink of death. Why haven't you killed me? No point. You can reshape your proxy's body at will. Leave human. We'll meet again. Sir, the initial damage report is in. Casualties? All civilians on the east side were safely evacuated to the west side. Half of the Imperial Astronomical Bureaucasters deployed on the inner city to deal with the secondary storm were injured. Also on scene were Mr. Lin of Lungman and his daughter, Envoy Lin. Mr. Lin suffered serious injuries. He is being treated at the army hospital. All of human owes Mr. Lin a great debt. Spare neither money nor manpower. Yes, sir. Well, how about his daughter? Damage to the buildings. The west side was unaffected. A number of buildings were damaged by the storm in the east and north sides. The east side took the brunt of the storm. 2 of the 4 guardians were damaged beyond economical repair and have been detached by the Tianxi. Part of the foundation wall has been severely warped. Emergency repairs are in progress. About 60% of all city defenses have been damaged. The Tianxi's assessment. Initial estimates are that it will take at least 2 months before Yumin can move again, even with full effort devoted to repairs. 2 months. Slightly better than our pre-catastrophe estimates. Here are my orders. The entire army will remain alert for potential afterstorms. Continue to assess damage and treat the injured. Erect emergency shelters to house the evacuated population. Yes, sir. In the Shanghai zone, they attempted to cause chaos by attacking city defenses and harassing the people. Most have been brought to justice by the patrol battalion's prompt intervention, assisted by civilian volunteers. Only a few managed to escape through gaps in the damaged walls. I see. However, we have not found the Shanghai zone leader responsible for the assassination attempt at the barracks. Search efforts are underway. She did not show herself? Strange, given her ability. What of the Grand Master? The Grand Master visited the Sword Forge. He has not been seen since. Why did you give me this sword? I want you to keep it safe. Consider it a request. So this was the sword that all the fuss was about? What is it, anyway? It is too many things. An artifact holding one of the 12 fragments of the Sui. Witness to a relationship of love and hate. An old antique sword. A keepsake. For our next fight. Just don't let anyone steal it again. Or pawn it for money. Right. Sounds important. Well, if it's too much trouble, I'm just thinking. We don't really know each other that well. I know your name is Huai Tianpei. You have 2 wise friends and a talented daughter. And you are the only one who has ever gotten the upper hand on me. Even once. Right. I know you're the only one I couldn't beat in my 40 years of training. I'll take the sword. I'll find you after I've trained for another 40 years. Right. I'll be waiting. Bro, imagine fighting an immortal god at 80 years old. Excuse me, doctor. How much does the man who worked at your clinic owe you? I'll pay it. Nah, he worked that off ages ago. It was just a convenient excuse to take him in. Better for him to be in here mending people's bones than out there breaking them. Thank you. For everything. Are you his daughter? Yes. Just found it hard to believe he had a daughter so polite and well-mannered. No offense, of course. Still, it takes some getting used to, not having him around. How am I gonna clean up all this sand by myself? I'll help. Left without a word. Again? Yeah. Some men never change. I'm not so anxious to find him this time around, though. Looks like you've made your own plans. I have my job at the agency, and school, and kung fu, of course. He'll get more than a kick in the chin the next time I see him. I'm glad she's holding up strong. Orders from above. We have our next mission. We'll go once we've rested and recovered. Too bad humans survived the catastrophe, while we took heavy casualties. Sneers. The letter burns in the masked man's hand, quickly turning to ash, making a tiny corner of gold even more conspicuous. Paint from a special seal that only the top Imperial Mandarins may use. Only 5 people have access to it. The man rubs the seal in his hand, crushing it into tiny pieces that fade into the sand. Our mission was to cause a commotion that would catch the Imperial Court's attention. We still have a use for human. It will not do to lose it. We move now. We're not waiting for Master. We could hardly have done this without her. It's the Deep East. Master is back. Careful. Who inhuman could have injured you like this? A man. What else did you hear? Eerie roar. How long? Eerie roar. 2 months. That's enough. I know where it is. What are you? Master, I'm afraid we must part here. Suit yourself. Just don't get in my way. There is always an end to the path, no matter how long. I have felt it since my awakening, growing ever clearer. What they call mortality. The wounds from that hunt will never fully heal. I hope you have awakened. I have little time left. I have few kin left. Let us settle this.